All right, good evening, everyone. Thanks for all joining tonight. We'll give it a couple more minutes to let some folks get settled in. And we'll be back shortly. Give it like 1 or 2 more minutes. All right, my clock is showing 6:02, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Good evening, everyone, again. Thanks for joining us today and taking time out of your night to attend this presentation on the Arizona Avenue Pedestrian Bridge and Connecting Trail. My name is Christian Pinheiro. I'm a special assistant in the Chief Engineer's Office here at DDOT. I'm in charge of public engagement for all of our capital projects. And I'm joined here with a great crew of both of our consultants and DDOT members, whom I'll introduce shortly. But before we get started, next slide, please. I want to welcome you all to our virtual public meeting. Just a couple housekeeping things on how to navigate the WebEx if those are unfamiliar with this particular platform. First off, as required by DC Code 2-578, this meeting is being recorded and will be made available to the public both on our website, which we'll direct you to after the presentation, and also our YouTube channel within 7 business days of this recording. If you also don't wish to have your voice recorded, please don't ask to speak. You'll be able to answer or provide questions and comments in our Q&A box, which I'll go over shortly. And if you need any technical support during this call, feel free to call the number below on the screen at 202-997-8354. So how to use WebEx. Everyone will be already on unmute. We'll have a feature where we'll be able to unmute folks who raise their hand or provide a commentary or questions in the Q&A box. We'll also be able to have closed caption options for those of harder hearing or hearing impaired to listen along if you're on a device. You can use the CC icon in the lower left to activate that tool. And also for those who are on the phone with us, you can click the 3-dot icon to activate that. And there's a #3 number that you can also call into, and I'll get to that in the next slide. For those who want to speak or have a question or comment at the end, we request that you raise your hand, which you can use the function at the bottom of the presentation and the hand icon. You can also use Control-Shift-R keys on your laptop or keyboard if you're using one. And as I mentioned earlier, you can use the dial #3 feature to also raise your hand if you're joining us via mobile phone today. As I mentioned earlier, we have a Q&A box that you can ask your questions. We'll be able to, at the end of the presentation, we'll go one by one, kind of alternating between raised hands and Q&A folks, so everyone can have a good comprehensive discussion at the end. And you can use the browser or mobile app and click the Q&A question mark to activate that chat. Just some additional ground rules. We encourage everyone to participate openly and express your concerns and disagreements in a respectful manner. We definitely want to hear all of your great comments, pros, cons, thoughts, and feelings about this project. We want to make sure everyone is getting their chance to voice their opinions. But at the same time, we also want you to make room for others to provide questions and their feedback as well. So we encourage everyone to limit their question time to 1 minute. So everyone can, actively participate within this hour and a half block that we have. For phone participants providing verbal comments, please wait until you are called before providing your question or feedback. And if you have any additional questions or comments, we definitely do want to hear from you after this meeting. So you can send questions via email to myself, and some other folks will have a contact page at the end of this presentation for those, so you can reach out to us directly. As I mentioned before, my name is Christian Pinheiro. I'm a special assistant with the Chief Engineer's Office. I'm joined today with Gourmet Tesfamichael. He's our project manager from the DDOT team. Zara Doriz is our program manager for the Bridge Design Branch. Mohammed Dahir is our Bridge Design Supervisor. And Kirti is our Senior Policy Analyst for our Environmental Branch. I'm also joined today with our great consultant team, Peter, who's managing that, Michael Parada, who's our Deputy Project Manager, we got Matthew, Richard, Robert, Becky, Eric. We have a whole slew of folks who are all incredible, and we look forward to engaging with you tonight. All right, Gourmet, I'll pass it on to you.
Thank you, Christian. Good evening, everyone. My name is Gourmet Tesfamichael. I'm with DDOT. I'm the project manager for this project. Today's agenda for this public meeting will be as follows. First, we will talk about the project purpose and limits of improvement. Then it will follow with the project timeline and public feedback. Next, we'll discuss about the final design overview. Under this final design overview, we'll discuss in detail about the proposed pedestrian bridge, sidewalk and pedestrian crossings, aesthetic treatment and landscaping, as well as the Palisades trail. Next, we'll discuss about the final design recommendations, the next steps. Then at last, around 6:45, we'll have open session for questions and answer. Next slide, please. The project is in Ward 3, and the project area is shown on the map with purple color. The trail extends from Galena Place to Sharia Place to the east, and also from Sharia on the north down to Carolina Place. The pedestrian ramp is located at the intersection of the trail and Iron Avenue. Next slide, please. Next slide. The purpose of the project includes to rehabilitate the existing pedestrian bridge over Arizona Avenue. As the existing bridge doesn't comply with the roadway clearance standard, DDOT standard, as well as the bridge is nearing to the end of its service life, and also to improve the connecting trail to durable accessibility for all users to the Palisades Rec Center. Also to upgrade the sidewalks along southbound Arizona Avenue, and also to improve pedestrian safety at the intersection of Sharia Place and Arizona Avenue. Next slide. Next slide, please. Next slide. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you, Gourmet.
Next slide.
The timeline slide is on showing right now, if you wanted to touch upon that.
Okay. Okay. I see only I don't see that. Okay, so the preliminary design study for this project started mid 2017, and it was completed by June of 2019. Within this period, we had several community representative meetings as well as public meetings, and the project was on hold from January 2020 till February 2025 due to funding shortage, as well as COVID. At the time, there was also COVID. The final design of the project started in February 2025, and it is anticipated to be completed by May 2026. Once the final design is completed, we'll have a procurement process, and that will take from 5 to 7 months. And the project is anticipated to be awarded in early 2027, and it's anticipated to be completed by the end of 2027. With this, I will pass it to our project manager, Peter, from our consultant group.
Thank you. Thank you, Garma. Peter Bonacorsi, the team leader for the consultant team. I served the same role during the phase 1 portion of the study. Here are the key elements that we're going to address and the technical elements that we're going to address in the presentation this evening. Of course, the bridge and the pedestrian ramp, which is the main purpose of the project, upgrades to the multi-use trail, stormwater management and surface drainage and how that's going to be addressed, and sidewalk and safety improvements, including the installation of the pedestrian automated traffic signal. The context-sensitive design and environmental compliance. The environmental compliance is not going to specifically be covered in the presentation. However, we are meeting all of the NEPA requirements, and we have staff on hand with us this evening that can answer any of those environmental or NEPA related questions during the Q&A. And I'm going to now hand it to Matt Waskowitz to discuss the pedestrian bridge. Matt?
Hello, I am Matt Waskowitz, lead structural engineer for this project. I will be discussing the pedestrian bridge over Arizona Avenue. The existing bridge over Arizona Avenue was constructed in the early 1980s. The existing bridge's vertical clearance over Arizona Avenue is 14'2". The DDOT standard vertical clearance for pedestrian bridges is 17'6". The yellow arrows are pointing to damage to the fascia beam due to strikes from heavy equipment that exceeded the clearance and hit the bridge. These strikes are due to the substandard vertical clearance. The most recent in-depth inspection of the structure was performed by DDOT in September 2024. It rated the superstructure a 5, which is in fair condition. The structural condition of the bridge is deteriorating and is near the end of its useful life. Next slide. The proposed replacement bridge main span over Arizona Avenue is a prefabricated steel box truss similar to the bridges shown here in these photographs. These are some of the features of the prefabricated truss bridge that are recommended for the main span of the pedestrian bridge. Safety handrails at 42 inches, mesh panels on the sides and top of the deck, top of the truss, and a concrete deck for durability. Note the slight arch or camber of these sample pedestrian bridges. The proposed structure is cambered only to accommodate the dead weight of the structure and to match the approach trail's grade on each end, and will not be as noticeable as the sample photos. This shows the pedestrian access ramp. The existing pedestrian access ramp on the west side of Arizona Avenue will be replaced with a new ramp. Design of the new pedestrian access ramp will follow ADA and DDOT accessibility guidelines. Because of the raised trail profile on the west end of the bridge, a longer ramp will be required to meet the existing ground line while maintaining the required ramp grades. Next slide. This is a plan view of the pedestrian access ramp on the west side of Arizona Avenue. The bottom of the ramp will touch down just south of Sherrier Place, with the proposed ramp extending 12 feet longer than the existing ramp to meet grade. Next slide. This is the elevation view of the pedestrian access ramp on the west side of Arizona Avenue. It will have a similar span arrangement as existing ramp, spanning an existing water main. The ramp will meet the trail on the upper or left end of the ramp about 2 or 3 feet higher than the existing ramp. This is an elevation view of the bridge and abutments of your south or downhill of the bridge on Arizona Avenue looking northward toward Cherrier Place and MacArthur Boulevard. The proposed parallel core truss is shown crossing Arizona Avenue, supported on the existing west and east abutments with no camber or arch shown. Next slide.
Thanks, Matt. Now we're going to talk about the sidewalks and the pedestrian crossing at Cherrier in Arizona. This slide shows the proposed sidewalks improvements starting along Cherrier Place, extending the sidewalk to the intersection with Arizona, and then along Arizona down underneath the pedestrian bridge to Dorset Place, and then crossing down and tying into the existing sidewalk system at Carolina Place. The sidewalk, the proposed sidewalks will be 5 feet wide, concrete, standard sidewalk. All of the sidewalk work will occur within the existing right-of-way. We've shown the existing right-of-way on here and called it out. Along Cherrier Place, the existing right-of-way is approximately 30 feet from the face of the curb to the property line. Along Arizona Avenue, it is roughly 15 feet from the curb line to the property line, all the way down to Carolina Place. We know and understand that there's some significant landscaping and hardscaping in the frontages of the residences along Cherrier Place and along Arizona Avenue from the Ped Bridge down to Dorset Place. The department and the design team will work closely with property owners to make sure that any landscaping, hardscaping, or irrigation systems will be replaced in kind. The proposed hawk signal, the pedestrian actuated crosswalk signal, is going to be installed at the crossing of Arizona Avenue with Cherrier Place. The previously completed traffic studies supported and met the DDOT requirements for installing that type of signal at this location. Next slide, please. Here is a plan view of the design for that traffic signal installation. The 2 yellow highlighted dots on the plan view indicate the location of the signal poles, which are shown in the left photograph beneath. The signal will be actuated by pedestrians wanting to cross Arizona Avenue. The signal cycles through a series of lights from yellow as warning, red for traffic to stop, and after the pedestrians have cleared the signal, the red light flashes off and on, and then the signal shuts down. This is exactly like the hawk signal that has been installed in front of American University up on Nebraska Avenue. They've also been installed along Wisconsin Avenue at certain locations and Connecticut Avenue. Also, the original traffic study had recommended the inclusion of high visibility pavement markings at the intersection. As you are probably well aware, those high visibility pavement markings have already been installed under an existing project that has recently been completed. Now I'd like to talk about the trail itself and the proposed improvements with the trail. Just as a recap, at the 2020, just prior to the January 2020 public meeting, the project did receive support and some opposition from several groups as listed here. You can see the PCA supported the improvements. The Trolley Trail Preservation Group was opposed. The Family Network supported it, and ANC 3D issued a conditional approval, letter of approval at that point in time. Following the January meeting, public meeting, we received about 124, 25 comments from citizens and residents. Of those, about half of the comments were supportive of some form of trail improvement. About 30% of respondents were opposed to any trail improvement, and the remaining 20% comments we received did not specifically comment on the trail one way or the other. Just want to provide that to you as some background as to where things stood when the project was put on hold. This is the proposed typical section. It's a 10-foot wide trail with a paved surface. It will have a 2% cross slope in order for the water draining off the trail to be drained away from the majority of properties. If this typical section is viewed as though you're walking up the trail from Galena Place towards the rec center, most properties that are on the left side or the north side of the trail. There are properties abutting on the south side, but not nearly as many. And those properties will be protected from any runoff from the trail by the provision of drainage swales. This typical is showing drainage swales on both sides. However, the swales, I want to point out the swales will not necessarily be continuous along the trail. There's some places where the topography naturally goes from high to low, from left to right. So water is draining in the direction that it's needed to. And again, where it's draining towards a private residence or residential property, it will be picked up in a swale and directed to an appropriate outfall so that it does not outfall onto the property. In addition to the paved trail itself, the 10-foot wide trail, where we do have swales, we will provide a roughly 2-foot shoulder on each side so that there's a soft buffer between the trail and the drainage swale. That any disturbed area within this typical section, within the construction of the trail area itself, will be reestablished with grass turf. I want to point out that there will be no lighting on the trail. That has never been proposed and is not proposed at this stage and is not proposed for the future. All work will be within the existing right-of-way, as we're showing here on the typical section. No private property will be taken from any of the abutting properties. Now, additional drainage improvements that are proposed, there are what we're calling spot drainage improvements at areas that have fairly severe drainage issues today in the existing condition. Starting at the right hand of the slide at Galena Place and looking at the photo above, the trail drains to the south and along the fence line, along the property that is there at the corner of the trail with Galena Place. The project is proposing to construct a very well-defined swale at the bottom of the slope within right-of-way. And as the swale approaches Galena Place, there will be an inlet and pipe system to pick that drainage up, and it will be tied into the street drainage system on Galena Place. And in so doing that, any runoff from the trail will not be flowing onto that adjoining property, which has been an issue and a problem for that property over time. In the center of the graphic, we're showing the proposed location for a bioswale for stormwater management purposes. It's proposed to be installed along the south side of the trail. It's going to be about 175 feet long. That will receive some drainage from a portion of the trail. It will filter and store it and then release it over time into the adjoining storm drainage system at the rec center. And then going beyond the rec center further to the east, in the final photograph, there's an area there where there's low-lying standing water trapped between the property fence line and the trail. And this picture shows where local residents have hand dug a ditch temporarily to try to get that water flowing along the fence line to an existing inlet that's in place and existing towards Chambridge Road. As part of the project, a standard swale will be installed there and made to drain and ensure there's positive drainage along this low-lying area to that inlet. So that will be another notable spot improvement to the drainage system. There's other locations where there's some low spots that remain wet after rainfall and other high groundwater table issues. In those areas, the trail profile is going to be raised, and again, appropriate swales will be added at those locations to move the drainage away from the trail. And again, at several locations, under drain will be installed, which will be tied to nearby drainage outfalls to try to maintain and keep the trail, keep those low-lying areas dry and usable year-round. On the trail surface evaluation, going back to what was proposed at the end of phase one, was a stabilized decomposed granite. However, since that time, and based on DDOT's experience with using a similar trail material at some of the trails associated with the South Capitol Street Bridge, it was determined that that material is not durable, does not stand up to erosion and rainfall runoff, particularly in areas where the trail is not flat. And there are several areas on this trail that are about 3.5% grade, particularly where you come off the bridge, but also when you go east of the rec center, maybe for 200 or 300 feet, you're on a 3.5% upgrade, and then tops out and then goes back down at 3.5%. So those areas for sure would not stand up well be durable over time and in wet weather conditions. More recently, we looked at a material called FlexiPave, which is also a stabilized crushed granite, but it's larger aggregate. The decomposed granite had a lot of fines and very small aggregate. Both of them require stabilization. Both require regular maintenance yearly, and in some cases bi-yearly, to replenish the stabilizing material, the polyurethane. In addition, the FlexiPave was found to be extremely expensive, and due to that and the maintenance requirements, it was deemed not appropriate for this location. It's also, I'd like to add, it's a very solid looking surface. It's not a loose gravel. It's a very solid looking, almost paved gravel view of it. Permeable concrete and asphalt was also considered. However, again, DDOT's experience on other trails in the city that have used the permeable asphalt, again, it requires regular maintenance. The asphalt needs to be vacuumed to keep the pores open. But even with the vacuuming over time, about 10% of the pores remain clogged, and over time, the trail surface loses its porosity and it defeats the purpose of using it. Another element that had to be considered here is the 78-inch DC water main that runs down the center of the right-of-way and would be beneath the trail. In some areas, it has 3 or 4 feet cover on it. A permeable asphalt section would require excavation and a stone reservoir underneath that would become within the zone too close to the main. So that was another issue, a reason to discard the permeable asphalt. The project is currently recommending an asphalt trail, and again, the considerations for arriving at this recommendation is the durability, the all-weather performance that I just discussed. It provides obviously a very smooth surface for strollers, bicycles, and any wheeled mobility devices, walkers, etc. It's not subject to erosion, and the maintenance requirement would be minimal. Maintenance would only occur if, for some reason, there was damage to a section of of paving, and the city or DDOT would go out and make that repair. Here's a photo of an asphalt trail in another trail system and park in the DMV. Again, that's the recommended solution here. And on the right is a picture of the trail as it exists today. It's wood chips have been put down by citizens and neighbors and residents over the last a year or so. And that is an option, is to leave the trail the way it is, and basically a no action plan. In comparing the two options here, the recommended asphalt surfaced trail versus not doing anything, is that the asphalt, the course would be ADA compliant. Wood chips, they're not ADA compliant. Again, it's a durable all-weather surface. It's a smooth rolling surface. The wood chips are not. With the asphalt paved trail and the construction that would be done to install that, we would address the drainage improvements. Those would not be addressed if the trail was left as is. And as I mentioned, as far as repairs to the trail, DDOT would do that and would maintain that. The no action option would be left to the neighbors and local residents, to the extent they were able and willing to continue to take care of the trail as it exists today. So just to summarize the final design recommendations, which are, very closely mirror what was recommended at the end of phase one. Full trail improvements from Galena to Sherrier Place, Nebraska Loop. Obviously replace the pedestrian bridge, the most urgent need of the project. Install the pedestrian crosswalk signal, sidewalk improvements as presented earlier, and implement the asphalt trail surface with the grading and drainage improvements that I discussed. The next steps are to take the feedback from the meeting this evening and then advance the design to a 90% submission. We're at about 65% right now. That would be completed in later this year, and another public meeting would be scheduled for early next year, probably January, to review the design and the plans at that point in time. And then bid advertisement and construction would occur in early 2027. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to Mike.
Thank you, Peter. So this slide contains information on Title VI of the Civil Rights Act of 1964. And this act ensures non-discrimination based on race, color, and national origin. So for today, we encourage you to click the QR code below in the bottom right corner here to take part in DDOT's demographic survey. This slide will also be reshown once the Q&A session is complete. Next slide. So just to reiterate the question and answer rules and process that we will undertake here in the next 50 minutes to an hour. You can ask questions in two ways. Some have already started asking questions in the Q&A box, and you are queued in and will be asked, or you will be, you'll have your questions read. The other way is to use your raise hand function that was discussed earlier in the slides. You will be then called upon by the moderator, which I will call upon, and then it'll be queued as well, and you will be unmuted and asked to speak. Please limit your questions and comments to 1 minute for courtesy for other respondents. Also, phone participants can also use the raise hands feature. Please wait until you are called on before providing your question and feedback. Next slide. And this shows also, if you're having trouble accessing the Q&A box on the right side of your screen, please look down for the 3-dot icon. Click on that, and the WebEx window should open up once you select it. And if you dial by phone, dial *3 to use the raise hand function. *6 would unmute you when called upon. Next. Okay, we wanted to show this before we started the questions and answers. This will be the contact information, and we'll keep this up during the Q&A period so that you'll have all the information that you need if you wanted to take a picture of the screen or screenshot it or write down information. We will open up, we will have the questions and comments via comment form opened up for the next several weeks. In case you don't have a question to ask today, you're welcome and encouraged to ask questions during this public meeting evaluation process. Okay, we will start with a few questions from the question and answer box, and then we'll alternate between the raised hands and the written questions. The initial question received had to do with access ramps on both sides of Arizona Avenue. This was asked by 3 different people, so we wanted to bring this question up first. The answer is yes. During the preliminary phase, the ramp on the eastern side was analyzed, but did not meet, and still does not meet, the feasible cost benefit. The new Hawk signal that was discussed today also provides a safe connection from the east side of Arizona Avenue to access the ramp. Peter, is there anything else you wanted to add to that response?
No, I think that summarizes it well and very concisely.
Okay. I'll read another question now. The area of the trail from Chainbridge Road to Sherrier, Nebraska is always wet and muddy. Have you identified what is causing this, and have you identified how to fix this so pedestrians, cyclists, dog walkers, etc., can use this area without getting muddy shoes? So we're aware of the situation, and yes, natural slopes and erosion through the years has caused this, and we have proposed the needed drainage improvements that were discussed earlier in this presentation. But as also discussed, the typical section that you saw with the paved trail was also, that option would allow for these drainage improvements to take place. If we do a no action alternative, you would not have improvements to those low areas and so forth.
Mike, let me add in that area,
Yep.
that's one of the areas where we're going to raise the grade of the trail. Right now, it's,
Yep.
It's at grade and it's lower than the land on both sides. And that's also an area where there's issues, probably appears to be, with groundwater, where we would install underdrain along the edge of the trail in addition to raising it. And that's how we would address that pretty continually wet area of the trail east of Chainbridge Road, almost all the way to the end of the trail.
Okay. So we'll switch over to raised hands. For the first raised hand, I will call upon Ray Schramm. Please click on the unmute notification to begin speaking. Your question. Ray, are you able to unmute your phone, your WebEx?
It seems that Ray has put down his hand, so our next caller would be Christy Halverson.
Hi there, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi. Thank you for taking my comment. I wanted to share that I feel that the choice of asphalt is a massive mistake in terms of the environmental impacts of laying down more of a urban heat island. You know, the hot air that pollutants release in DC hot temperatures really contributes to air quality issues and is really detrimental to dog walking. I live on the trail and I have lived here for 29 years. I watch dozens and dozens and dozens and dozens of people walking their dogs. on that trail. I would say that's the #1 usage of the trail. And that seems like a tremendous mistake. I heard that you said one of the options is to leave as is. And I believe there is a way to make the bridge ADA compliant by connecting it just to the back of the park via the back of the tennis courts, and preserve the mile or so of green, serene grass trail, which is sorely missing in this city and is really enjoyed by so many hundreds of residents every day. So I think it's a big mistake to pave it.
Okay, thank you, Christy, for your comments. This is being recorded and it'll go on record. Peter, do you have anything to, in response? Is there any, we obviously, can take into account the idea of a hybrid option where it's just stubbed from the bridge east to the park. That's something we could always consider. Does anybody else on the team have a response or any comments?
Mike, I don't have anything to add to that.
Okay. All right, we'll go with the next raised hand. Avi Green. You're free to unmute yourself.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you? Sorry, can you hear me now?
I can hear you good. Yes.
Okay, sorry, I'm in the car. It's a little bit hard to navigate this. I just have two actual questions. If the bridge is raised and there is a no disturbance zone on the trolley trail, like how does that work in terms of getting back to grade on either side of the bridge? That's question number one. And question number two, I was a little disappointed because I know I certainly asked, and others I think asked as well, if you'd considered a grass grid surface, which would be ADA compliant, allow for bikes, wheelchairs, and strollers, but still preserve a natural aesthetic along the trail and avoid asphalt, which is a concern for people. Was that considered at all? I didn't hear that as any of the options that you presented tonight.
Mike, I can
Go ahead, Peter.
go first on this one. Yes, if the bridge is raised and the trail is not improved, there would be trail work that would be required, for a distance of, let's say 100 feet, 150 feet in either direction at each end of the bridge to tie the bridge back to the existing trail. Again, it would have to be, it would be set at a slope that meets ADA requirements, which is about 12:1. And we're raising the bridge about a little less than 2 feet. So let's just say you'd have to go back 30, 40, 50 feet to tie the bridge back to the existing trail. But other than that, there wouldn't be any other trail improvements under the existing condition. And then regarding the grass pave, we didn't list it, but we did look at it. Again, we didn't check into the cost of it. That is one thing we did not do. But again, DDOT has concerns about maintenance, and they're not set up to perform maintenance on a regular basis for trails, and so that was a consideration. I think there are one or two folks from the DDOT Trails group in attendance here. I don't know if David or Greg, if you want to add anything to that or not, but we did consider it.
Okay. I'm hearing no further additional responses. We're going to switch back over to a few question and answer questions. One question that came in Thank you so much for this work. I love the design, and this will be such an improvement for the community. We are definitely for an improved surface. Will you be landscaping on the sides, or is that left natural? At this time, and we did look at it, but at this time, the study team is leaning towards leaving the landscaping in a natural condition due to life cycle maintenance costs. Peter, would you like to add any other additional reasons for why we're leaning against adding additional landscaping?
Well, yeah, there is the issue about maintaining landscaping, which again, DDOT is not set up to do landscape maintenance. But there's also a concern with adding it. There's not a lot of additional space for plantings. That's probably the other consideration here. The right of way does vary, but in most places it's about 30 feet. And from the typical section that we were showing earlier, there's only about a 2-foot planting area available in areas where the swale is installed. In other areas where the swale may not be needed, there would be some room for planting. But again, DDOT and the team's position is that, or thinking is that, there's enough naturally occurring vegetation there, trees and shrubs, but also there's there are some plantings that homeowners have put in there, and that there's more than enough planting to satisfy the needs of maintaining the natural look of the natural environment along the trail itself.
Okay. Let's try and go through, we have a lot of questions coming in on the Q&A and also raised hands. We're going to try to get as many people as we can. Tricia Duncan made a comment that the ANC will republish this onto the neighborhood listserv for anybody who's curious about that. We also had a question, concern about water drainage on the Chain Bridge Road, as this did not appear to be addressed. They mentioned insufficient stormwater management on Chain Bridge Road. My initial comment is that this was out of our project scope area, just on the outside of it. But I'll see if JC, Jean-Claude, or Peter have anything to add with specifics on the far east side of our trail scope.
No, Mike, I think you answered it correctly there. We did not look at drainage improvements on Chain Bridge Road itself. That's something that if DDOT agrees with, we could look into that, but today was not part of the scope for this project.
Okay. Switching back to raised hands, I'm going to call upon Alex Schenk. If you can go ahead and unmute yourself and ask a question, I appreciate it.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. Again, my name's Alex Shank, and I live at 5400 Galena Place. And our home, which was actually referenced during this presentation, is only one of 2 residences directly bordering the section of the trolley trail that's west of Arizona Avenue. Listen, my objections to this project west of the bridge are innumerable. There's absolutely no stated need from DDOT or anyone else. If it's for bikers, there are bike lanes throughout the neighborhood that are accessible to the bridge and the paths. If it's about the trail getting muddy, there's a concrete sidewalk less than 30 feet away that's also connected to the bridge. And I appreciate, your references to runoff, but I don't see how adding an impervious surface like asphalt could do anything but make it worse. But my biggest concern, and the one that I wanted to emphasize today, is about health and safety. My 4-year-old son has been in treatment for leukemia for the past 3 years and just received a bone marrow transplant. And any paving work next to our home would release dust, spores, and runoff that would pose a life-threatening risk to him. And I noted in the project documents that Title 20 of the DCMR requires the city to control these emissions, and yet this is completely omitted from the project plan, and there's no mention of any such protections. And adding an impervious surface would increase the risk of water runoff into my lot, which was specifically mentioned by this team during your presentation. So in addition to this being a statement of clear objection, I also wanted to ask the question of why was Title 20 DCMR 605 not referenced in any of the project documents. And I also wanted to make clear that if the city moves forward with paving west of the bridge, I do plan to pursue legal action. I cannot allow a city project that really seems very pointless to endanger his health and well-being.
Thank you, Alex. Yep, I just wanted to say briefly about the omission of that statute. This is still in 65%. As the construction plans get special provisions and specifications get written into the plans in this next phase of the project. So that would still be addressed, but we certainly take your concerns to heart, and it is noted for the project record. Peter, anything else to respond or?
No.
Okay.
I know that that's a tough one to respond to, but let me just give you an easier question within my minute of time. What is the purpose of paving west of the Arizona Bridge, given the abundance of bike trails and sidewalks? Like, why are we doing this?
Well, the short answer is a connection to the Palisades Community Center, and also just increase safety.
Sidewalks.
Understandable, but it's multi-use. It's a greater push in urban areas for multi-use connections, not just walking, but other types of connections. So that's part of the purpose and need, but a lot of it has to do with community connectivity. But once again, there's pros and cons for all types of alternatives, and that's why we're having this candid discussion.
No, I appreciate your giving me the opportunity to speak. Thanks.
Absolutely. Let's move on. Diane Bolts, if you could ask your question, please.
I can't unmute my, okay.
Oh, we can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Yeah. I've lived here for many years, 40 years, and right next to the trolley trail. I see absolutely no reason to pave this over. If you pave it over, it's going to invite scooters, electric bikes. We already have so many pathways for bicycles in this area. Since COVID, one thing has changed dramatically since the last time citizens were polled was COVID. And the fact that this trail is used on a daily basis by walkers, by kids, by dog walkers. And it would be a shame to lose that. Every other bike path or trail, walkers have to compete with cyclists and scooters. And this is a treasure in this neighborhood. So I'm strongly opposed to paving it over. And I think the fact that the community has pitched in and brought in tips and worked hard to preserve the trail has testimony to how much people value it the way it is. Go ahead. I also want to say something too.
May I say something? I'm Michael and Diane's husband, and I like to say there's a certain irony in the fact that you want to make this ADA compliant, because if you make it ADA compliant, you are inviting bicycles, motorcycles, and other mechanical means. I take friends who are not quite handicapped out on various trails in the city, and I did a particular walk on the Capitol Crescent Trail with a handicapped friend, and because of the bicycles, I'll never do it again. I'll never do it again. We want the trail for pedestrian walking, and that's it. Thank you.
Okay, what was your name again, sir, so we can put it down for the record?
Michael Finn, F-I-N-N.
Okay, thank you. And we're going to try and keep it in the order. Let's go to Brett Young, if you could unmute yourself. And then after this, we'll go back to a couple written questions.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Brett Young. I live on MacArthur Boulevard on the other side of the Palisades. I've been dreaming about this project for over 10 years. I love the presentation. I love the selection of paving. It's long overdue. In fact, it doesn't even go far enough. This is only, I know it's unfortunately, I consider this whole project phase one. This should be going to the high school. This should be going to the university. We should be fixing the Fountain Branch Bridge. The only people that are really against this are the people that live on the trail. Let's call this facts, because as soon as you pull people north of MacArthur Boulevard, this isn't an issue. You heard them on the call. I respectfully disagree with their comments. In fact, one gentleman said that there's bike lanes all over the place. Well, the bike lane is the only one on Crescent Trail, which isn't in the neighborhood. We got a little thing going there in Arizona. This proposal that you guys are proposing at the trolley trail will be perfect. It will connect from Arizona Avenue to this trail. And hopefully we're going to go further east, all the way to Wisconsin Avenue eventually. And that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, switching back over to a couple.
Hey, Mike, before we switch over, this is Christian again from DDOT. I do want to just make a note to everyone. Just keep in mind the time of 1 minute, please. We appreciate your comments, but some folks have been going a little longer. We want to make sure everyone has a chance to speak. So I just wanted to let everyone know about that. Thanks, Mike.
Thank you, Christian. Question came in, is DDOT coordinating with the National Park Service as they are currently designing restoration of the DC portions of the Capitol Crescent Trail? Might be a good opportunity to facilitate a connection between the Arizona bridges as well as the C&O Canal Path. So to answer that, the National Park Service has been a consulting and coordinating agency all along. Our 65% plan set was sent to them for their review. As of now, though, the scope does not include any other trail connectivity to their facilities, including the Capitol Crescent Trail. I think it goes back to the other answers of utilizing the street grid right now to connect to those trails, and it could be an additional, if funding permits, project in the near future, but it's not part of our project.
Yeah, Mike, let me quickly add, there is a separate ongoing project. I don't know if it's a DDOT or National Park Service project to connect from the Arizona Avenue, the far south end of the trail, cutting across through the woods to tie to the Crescent Trail.
Yeah, and Peter, that is a DDOT project, just for the record.
Thanks, David. I'm going to call on Richard to help answer a hawk signal related question. The question is, traffic at Arizona MacArthur intersection gets congested during rush hour. How will the hawk signal be timed to avoid making that worse?
So the signal will be coordinated with the adjacent signal at MacArthur Boulevard. So when it is actuated, when the hawk signal is actuated, it will impact the cycle at the MacArthur signal to kind of whichever period of day that it's in, it will attempt to shorten the cycles that are sending vehicles down Arizona. Because obviously there are obviously the concern that it would back up, traffic would back up into MacArthur. So yeah, I guess the short answer is that the signals will be coordinated as part of the design.
Great. And then I want to go through one more written question before we go back to raised hands. There's a concern about the quality of the pedestrian bridge as it stands right now. How safe is it to wait until 2027 for it to be replaced? And this goes back to the bridge rating of a 5 on a 10 scale. Maybe Matt or Gourmet can respond to that better than I could on allowing it in its existing condition for two more full years.
Yeah, so right now it's a rated 5 for the superstructure, which is not in poor condition as of yet. So right now it's safe. It doesn't need to be replaced. They inspect it every other year. So if they do find that it has critical findings, then they'll close the bridge and but that's probably not going to happen because it's redundant. So I wouldn't worry about that.
Okay. Switching back. Oh, anybody else have anything to say? Okay, apologize. Switching back over to raised hands. If Cameron Palmer is available, you can unmute And, yep, we can hear you.
So I live on the east side of Sherrier, and just for full disclosure, I work for DOEE in the district, but I also live close to this trail. So I guess my question is, are you planning on meeting the 1.7-inch storm? If not, what percent, do you have a percentage that you're planning to meet, or are you trying to go mostly practicable process with this? I know that people are very concerned about runoff. But if we're looking to make a net improvement with the use of green infrastructure, like, I'm very happy about that. So I just wonder what you have to say about that.
Sure. Yep, we talked about this actually today, and I'm going to turn it over to JC if he wants to reiterate how our hydraulic engineers incorporated the analysis for H&H.
Yes, definitely we're gonna design and do all the stormwater management improvement to meet the rain intensity, to meet that 1.5 inch. And we are doing all the calculation to size the swell properly to meet those runoff.
Yeah, Mike, let me add, and JC, let me add that, yeah, you're correct. We're going with the maximum extent practical. It's not practical for us to provide full, DOEE stormwater management. The bioswale is proposed in an area where we can fit it in, but we will not be meeting, a full stormwater management treatment for the trail. But we've submitted under the maximum extent practical approach to this project, given the nature of the project itself.
Also, Dave, we're wrapping up our tree survey, and we're going to be doing another submission to DOEE, and hopefully you can be involved in the project and offer more expertise. We'd appreciate that. I'm calling on Diane Bowles. She's available. If you could unmute yourself.
I believe we already had a question from Diane Bowles.
Oh, okay. Okay, she's written here twice. Sorry about that. JB Schramm.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
So I'm just remembering 7 years ago when this issue was hot in the neighborhood. There was so much contention. There were neighbors not talking to neighbors. There were signs on one side and signs on the other side next door. And it was awful. And at that point, there were 436 Palisades residents who signed a petition saying they oppose any action on the trail. And now we've got, after 7 years of not talking to us about this, during a period where there's been a fair amount of change. There's been COVID. There's been the wonderful effort by Avi Green and others to get the wood chips there, like a process that's pulled the community together and has made the trail even better. And it's more used now than it's ever been used. We're just learning that you're planning on paving with asphalt. And my recollection was that in the original survey, about 5% of residents said they supported asphalt. And now we've also had motorized scooters to change kind of we know what would happen on this if it gets paved with asphalt. And I just feel like it's just not good leadership to force this on us with 7 years of quiet. And if you really believe the community wants it, then come up with a survey that's just straightforward and let's find out where people stand. But it just feels, frankly disrespectful on the part of our leadership, our council member and the mayor's office in DDOT to, after lots of contention, it seemed I don't know. It was pretty evenly split 7 years ago. And now this is just being forced on us.
Yeah, let me,
Earlier.
we're trying to limit to a minute. I'm sorry, sir. But I can initially answer your question. I understand. There's still gonna be another public meeting in 3 or 4 months. This is our first chance when the project has got restarted to have a full public meeting. So it's still in the information gathering standpoint, but the goal was to advance the plans farther than what you saw 7 years ago. Yes, there was a 5-year pause due to funding. So your point is valid. It's something that I can understand it being a concern, but this is definitely still part of the survey or issue gathering phase. Nothing is set in stone. Nothing's getting pushed, without your weigh-in. I wanted to just get that point across. And we appreciate, we welcome any more written comments in the next month too, if you wanted to add to your point. Okay, we'll call on Jessica Garvin.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, I just wanted to echo the opposition to paving with asphalt. I think it is a safety concern. I have 4 children who are constantly on that trail, and with a flat paved surface like asphalt, you are just welcoming bikes and scooters that are going to not be paying any attention to all of the children that are constantly on that trail, like all the soccer teams, the neighborhood kids. I just think it's a really bad idea. And I mean, like a gravel surface, at least it would be slow moving bikes or scooters, but asphalt is just a terrible idea in my opinion.
Okay. Thank you. And then we'll call on John Wells.
I want to support the comment that Avi Green made earlier about some kind of grass grid. I was wondering if there was some sort of astroturf-like surface that could be used with short grass like a putting green that would provide a smooth rolling surface but be more natural looking than asphalt. I think there's a strong community consensus in favor of trying to keep the trail as natural looking as possible, even if it's not actually a natural surface. Another possibility would be the kind of rubberized surface that's used at the rec center playground, which is green, but it's made of rubber and it would be pretty easy to roll on. I understand that DDOT is concerned about the higher maintenance costs of these alternative surfaces, but would it be possible to have a cooperative agreement with the Palisades Community Association, for example, to get them to cover the cost of maintenance, annual maintenance? And could you provide an estimate of the annual maintenance cost of these alternative surfaces so that the community could consider whether they are prepared to cover that higher cost in order to provide a more natural looking surface?
Sure, I'll briefly answer that. We did receive a request by the ANC to take a look at the turf surface. The team did take a look at that, weighed the pros and cons. The cons outweighed the pros for various reasons, and Peter could probably expand upon that. And we also had field visits with DDOT Trails, discussed several types of surfaces, including granite. Yes, there is a maintenance concern with the rubberized and also not being able to utilize drainage improvements with that type of solution. But Peter, if you have any other thoughts about the trail surface options moving forward, and then also maintenance costs is something certainly the team can potentially work with DDOT as with other folks internally with DDOT to determine potential costs for life cycle costs. But it's not a hard ask. But I'll turn it over to any other project team member if they have anything else to add.
I'll just quickly say, Mike, the idea of a cooperative maintenance agreement obviously something DDOT would have to be supportive of and in agreement to do, but it's certainly something that can be raised with them. So, we'll do that as one of the after actions of tonight's meeting. And the use of the rubberized surface that you're referring to at the park also is something that could be looked at and evaluated as long as the DDOT Trails Group is in agreement with that. I think they would be open to considering it. But again, the key would be the cooperative maintenance agreement. So I think it's good comment and something that we need to consider.
Yes. Thank you. So we have a common question in the question and answer box that I'd like to bring up and read out, and we could hopefully answer it sufficiently. Common question we've received is, how will the team address the use of bike and motor vehicle, which is e-bikes or scooters has been discussed, who may use the trail? There's a concern that asphalt will increase the speed and danger, and this has been brought up by somebody with a raised hand about this concern. So the question is, how will it be addressed from a safety standpoint when you have mixed use on a shared use path? I can start off by saying this is certainly a common concern. As far as, I envision that being the next phase of design, looking at multi-use. Some trails do have delineation, just like on Arizona Avenue with a line down it. There's signing options and things of that nature. We haven't progressed far enough to get into those issues, but it's something that could be considered. Peter or anybody else have anything to add?
I think it's a valid concern. I see that Greg from the Trails Division is in attendance. Greg, I don't know if you've addressed or observed this as an issue on other trails, and if it has been observed, what the potential mitigations might be. Don't want to put you on the spot. If you don't have anything specific, then that's something we can circle back to the commenter on, following tonight's meeting.
David, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I'm happy to take this one. It definitely is a very valid concern and one that we're looking to address across the trails throughout the district. We're actually working on a speed study on the Metropolitan Branch Trail right now. I think one of the things that we find often, especially when preventing, car access, is looking at bollards at any of the access points of the trail. And that's something definitely that we can do. And then there are other ways that we can work as far as signage goes, as far as looking to slow speed. So it's a valid concern. And I think, like Mike already mentioned, definitely something that we'll continue to look at as design moves forward.
Okay, I'll read one more question before we go back to a few more raised hands. Question: what mitigation steps, whether it be tree planting, buffer zones, erosion control, will be taken to offset environmental impacts? And I think, Aaron, this might be one that if you want to take a stab at, or Bobby.
So my understanding is that as of right now, we do not have any environmental impacts that do require mitigation. We are still doing a tree survey and then a tree impact assessment. So once we have done that assessment, we will have a better idea of what the tree impacts are. And at that point, we would work with DDOT to determine what tree mitigation is required, where would be potential locations for that tree mitigation to occur. So it's a work in progress, I guess.
Thank you. Switching back over to raised hands. Leanne Schrey, are you available to unmute yourself? There, I see you're unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can, yes.
Yeah, I'd like to speak in opposition to paving the trail with asphalt. It is a really lovely natural area, and there are many dog walkers, as people have said, and kids who use the path. And so I would like to see an permeable surface rather than asphalt. I don't appreciate the heat and all the rest of that, which people have said. My other question is, I'm assuming that the trail ends at Sherrier where the water main is, where there's an opening. And if it is paved, how are you going to deal with the water? There's incredible amounts of sheet flow that come down Sherrier from Nebraska and also from Treen Bridge. And there's already deterioration of the Palisade across from the path. So I'm not exactly sure where the trail ends, but I think that's an area that's already very fragile, and that would need to be addressed. And you say that asphalt doesn't have problems with erosion, but we've seen where they replace the water mains on Sherrier and there's no curbs on the side, that there is significant erosion on the sides of the road, and there are rocks and things that end up on the road because of the amount of water that comes through. So since that is a place where there's significant flow at the end, I'm just wondering how you plan to address that.
Sure, that's definitely another valid point.
Mike, I would say that, yeah, I know what the commenter is talking about. I think certainly we can talk with DDOT following tonight's meeting and look at adding some drainage improvements there, curbing. There's an inlet there already. It's pretty well, broken up, but I think that's something that DDOT can consider adding to the project scope, particularly since that would be the tie out of the trail. And you're right, that is the end point of the trail. It would tie back where that existing dirt connection exists today from Sherrier Place to the trail. Short connection there.
Okay. I also wanted to make mention that for a lot of the question and answers, written comments, a lot of those are comments, are not necessarily questions. So this will be part of the public record. And even if we didn't specifically respond to it, we did see what was written. So I just wanted to assure everybody that they are being heard in that aspect. Okay, now we're going to go to Garth Ross, if he's still available to speak. Please unmute yourself.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, fabulous. So just a couple things. There was a statement earlier about who this all affects, and the excellent point was made that when the last survey was done, over 400 residents were not in favor of changing the surface, and that's far more people than live on the trail. That being said, objectively, neighbors that back up to the trail are more affected by this work and this change than residents that are not adjacent to or backing up to the trail. So I just want to make that clear as well. People talked about kids walking out on the trail and dogs walking out on the trail, and this safety issue with e-bikes and so forth is a great concern. Lots of people have addressed it, but I also want you I use the Crescent Trail a lot as well. And there are very few places where homes back directly up onto the Crescent Trail. And when they do, there tend to be stockade or chain link fences there. And if you imagine where there are homes abutting the Crescent Trail, if there weren't tall fences and clear barriers, and kids and dogs and pets were stepping out on, so if there's homes on one side and a park on the other, and kids and dogs and whatnot are stepping out onto the trail, that's a pretty serious safety issue because bikers on through trails think of those bike trails as rights of way for the bikers. So it's just introducing a real risk to create something that is perceived as a right of way for bikers that is interposed between people's yards with open gates and a park. The other thing is there was a slide that showed that the right of way is 30 feet wide, and it showed the path, the paved path right down the middle. And to that comment about dog walkers, the Humane Society recommends that dogs are walked on grass as much as possible. And of course, anyone who does use the trail is walking their dog on grass. This is my question, is there a requirement for the pavement to be laid down the center of the right of way, thus limiting the available continuous grass on either side to walk on? Or is it possible to serve both purposes and have an ADA compliant paved path on one portion of the right of way, and the other portion that would be even wider, that would remain grass and safe for kids to play, dogs to walk, so on and so forth? Thanks for your time.
Yep, sure. I'll give a brief answer, then I'll turn it over to either David or Greg. But no, it's not a requirement that the trail would have to be at the center line of the right of way or in the midpoint. Of course, it does have to do with what it comes down to is available right of way and available funding to have that additional graded area. In this instance, there are some areas where you could get both in there, and that would be a great, a positive from a safety standpoint for mixed use of users. But as far as DDOT's opinion on that, I don't know, David or Greg, if you have anything to add and how you've handled this in other trails.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a ton to add. This is, we do have trails where there are doors that back up to them, the Met Branch Trail being one. Right on, but this is very much a different scenario. I know Arlington County has trails like the Bluemont Junction Trail that has houses that back up to it. But I hear the comments, hear the concerns, and I think it's something that we're all taking in as part of feedback this evening.
Thank you. We'll go to Marcia. You still have your hand up? Yes. You can unmute yourself.
Fine.
You try it again, Marcia?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yes. So I want to go on record as opposing the asphalt trail. I live on Galena Place, and my property is not exactly adjacent to the trail, but it is downstream one house of all the drainage that comes off the trail and from MacArthur and all the development that has occurred above MacArthur Boulevard, and which is significant. I understand, there will be, that the proposal is to remediate that, but I have concerns about that. I also think the asphalt destroys the nature of the trail and the way it is currently used, and that there doesn't seem to be any particular reason stated that there is ADA compliance needed west of Arizona Avenue, because the bridge will then connect down to Sherrier Place, where there is a sidewalk and that can be used by everyone. I also am really curious about the about why DDOT wouldn't be responsible for maintenance of a permeable trail. That seems to be peculiar to me, so I guess I'd like to understand that a little bit better. And I would just also like to say that I support what JB Schramm said, that, we went through this a number of years ago, and there was a lot of opposition to this, and the comments by Brett Young, who I respect what he had to say, but his comments really underscore that bicyclists are going to use this as a throughway, just like they use the Capitol Crescent Trail, and it will become a bicycle highway that will be unfriendly to walkers and children and the way that people use it now. So thank you.
Sure. Appreciate the comment. Does anybody potentially on the DDOT side have any response to Marcia's comment? Peter, do you have any response? It was like a three-parter, but
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if David, you can address the maintenance question that she posed. You know, why wouldn't DDOT maintain a permeable
or more of a,
yeah,
you know, an alternative surface trail versus a, you know,
I think, yeah, it's a very reasonable question, and I think it speaks a little bit to some of the challenges that DDOT has when it comes to maintaining trails and maintaining right of way similar to this. We have a lot of what we call paper streets throughout the district as well, where maintenance concerns, and there's often community support to do something in those locations, and we just don't currently have the infrastructure built in to do that as kind of a Department of Transportation. You know, I think what I'm hearing from the community, you know, these are all really great asks, and I understand where folks are coming from. And I think a lot of what I'm hearing is a little bit more of what DPR tends to do from a park setting standpoint. And so this is just a challenge that the Department of Transportation, when it comes to this right of way, can run into. So it's not that DDOT's not responsible for maintaining this regardless, but we do have challenges. And so we do also want to be realistic about what can be maintained going forward from the long-term standpoint, and not putting something in place that is going to quickly deteriorate. So just want to be realistic about what can and might happen.
Thank you. We have a common Q&A question I'd like to address before we go back and try and get all of the raised hands. Question came in from a couple folks that would advocate for the improved surface so that it is ADA compliant. There are a lot of natural trails in the area, but this would be the only one usable for those of us requiring a stable surface for safety. Doesn't the project have a requirement to be ADA compliant? The answer is yes. There's certain funding mechanisms tied to being ADA compliant for approvals. You know, obviously this is something that's a goal for safety. But if anybody else on the team wants to elaborate on that, you know, the safety and stability of the surface being a key pro to having a non-wood chip type surface. I don't know, Peter.
No, Mike, I think you've captured it. It's, you know, this is partially where I don't know what percentage, but
right,
fully funded. And that, to meet that funding, one of the funding requirements is for it to be ADA compliant. I don't know the DDOT regulations in detail, but I suspect they have their own requirement that if they're going to improve a trail or build a trail, that it needs to be ADA compliant. David, I don't know if you can add to that or need to add to that, or if that's on point.
No, Peter, nothing to add to that. I think you've captured it well.
Okay. Going back to we'll try and knock out, we've only got about 5 to 10 minutes. We want to try and sort of do some rapid fire here in the last 4 or 5 raised hands. So we'd appreciate consideration on a 30-second max question. Stephen DuPont, if you're available to ask a question, please do.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Very quickly, I think the comment about ADA funding may point to how this project has gotten so elaborate. I understand the bridge problem. I'm an architect. I do a fair amount of stormwater management as well. I think the bridge project and some bioswales with under drains at those 3 critical locations would handle almost all the problems except the paving. Most of us don't want the paving. I live well north of MacArthur. I tried walking on the Crescent Trail with my dog. It is a hazard. I just don't think that paving this thing is a good idea. And I think that you lose a lot by doing so. But from a design point of view, how much do we not have to do rather than how much can we do?
Okay, thank you. Ken Buckley, if you could unmute yourself. Looks like you're unmuted. But we can't hear. You could try and adjusting your microphone setting potentially. Okay, Ken, we'll skip you for now, but we'll come back to you, okay? Tom Quinn?
I would keep going, Mike, and then
Okay.
circle back.
Yeah, I didn't know whether anybody else was hearing him. I couldn't hear. Mike Sandifer. Peter, I'm worried that now that it's 7:30 that
Hello, can you hear me?
yes, we do now. Yes.
Okay, I'll be quick and thank you for the presentation.
Sure.
Just one point is that, a couple of points is that everybody's been concerned about it. People on both sides of the issue have worked night and day to come up with solutions. And I think that they all should be given credit for their work. Second, the PCA last night issued a statement that they have no position one way or the other. So to present that the PCA supported it, they did, but they've taken that back, should be noted in your presentation. I did write it in, but DPW mows the trail regularly. They do it typically on a weekly basis, beginning about in March and up to October. Maybe even further. No, I mean, really, there's only about 3 months that 3 months that they don't mow, and that's when the grass is at a low peak. The grass helps, and I think it's a win for everybody. Absorbency, surface, and would be cost effective. So I really would appreciate you all considering that as an alternative. And then lastly, how wide is the paving? You mentioned 20 feet. Is that the width of the trail?
No.
The DDOT? How wide is it?
No, we were looking at 10 foot.
10 feet. And how wide is is the trail that you have jurisdiction over? Not property.
Oh, the right of way?
Private property, yeah. How wide is the right of way?
It varies. JC, you might have the best handle on it. Maybe Peter. Can you just give the narrowest point and maybe some of the wider points?
Mike, I think the narrowest is 30 feet.
Yeah.
I can't really put a specific number on, but there may be places where it's 5 feet or, maybe a couple of spots where it might be closer to 40, but it's primarily 30 feet.
And that's why the overall complete typical section with the ditch and the sloping we didn't want to go farther than 30 feet for the overall.
I think you need to check because when the surveyors came through, I live on the trail and through the calculation of a survey pole, they told me that I have a 27 foot drop. There's no way there could be 30 feet behind my house. Absolutely none. And that would mean that you all would take property. I'm concerned about permeable. You may have a solid surface, but then everything else would be impermeable. I mean, can you build within that if you used it like a house or a patio or something like that, or within your margin. Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. The trail was designed to avoid having any impacts to property, and it was based on the survey. So, okay. And we also have some of our team members answering some other questions for the Q&A. We're going to go with one more raised hand, two more quick ones, and then Christian, when he cuts me off, he's going to cut me off. Julia Cobb, are you still available to ask a question? Okay. Yep, I see you trying to get unmuted. All right, we'll go on to Andrew.
There we go. I think I'm on now,
Oh,
right?
you're on it? Okay, yes,
Yeah.
go ahead.
So I
Quickly,
just
please.
wanted to add my support or to join the chorus of people opposed to asphalt completely and take it a step further that really any, whether it's the rubberized stuff or whatever, anything that allows bikes should be a non-starter. And then secondly, I'm wondering, is this just a steam train that's left the station and not going back? Or is it a hybrid solution like you mentioned? I mean,
yes. I would not say there's a steam train that's left the track.
because it sounds like it.
I have a planning background and I know the steps of the process. And a lot of us here have worked on many, many projects, and we've gone through all phases of the projects like this. And no, like I said, this is a public meeting. We have another public meeting coming up. Designs can be revised. Financially feasible. If it's financially feasible, designs could be adjusted and revised. But the farther we get into the process, obviously, the earlier you can get concerns and comments in, the better.
So the sooner we can stop it, the better.
Well, if you want to call it that way, yes. But yes, I mean, obviously getting your comments in, not only today in the public record, but also we encourage you to put something in writing as well.
Yep, I've done that. We'll continue to do so. Thank you.
For what you see on the screen. Yes.
Hey, Mike, I just want to let you know, I think we're approaching 10 minutes over the allotted time for this presentation, so we might end things here. If I do want to also point out, for those who we didn't get your answers or questions answered, we will be able to, we encourage you to use the comment form that's on the screen. We'll be able to answer those individually, and we also have a written record of all the questions we didn't get a chance to address, so you can contact us, and we can also provide feedback that way.
Yes.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Yep. Appreciate it, Christian. And yes, there were some comments that we did not get to in the question and answer. A lot of those were repeated comments, so but we will still put that in the public record nonetheless. And here on the screen, this is the QR code. If you want additional information about DDOT Project Management's team, our team, and then also who you can reach to via email. Eric Feldman and Christian Pianero, who you heard from tonight, they would welcome your emails. So with that, Christian, do you have anything else to add?
No, but we really do sincerely appreciate you all. It's a Tuesday evening, and we understand that you taking time out of your family evenings or just general nights to be with us. So we definitely appreciate the time and attention. As Mike said, we'll have another public meeting in the next several months, and we'll be notified of when that happens. And so continue to share your thoughts and express your concerns or praise for this project, and we'll act accordingly and look forward to the next meeting.
Yep. Thank you all.
Thanks all. Have a good night.